You want to share? And if my timer goes up, I'm going to get up real quick and I'm going to go turn it off because y'all, I'm always baking something, right? So it's there. So Derek, forgive me if that happens. So Derek, your turn. If you will share with us,
Okay, well,
you got to
Master.
turn on your mic.
Yeah, turn on the mic. All right. So yeah, this is a little personal. It's a little Marietta City Schools personal, but I think I know how to tell the story now. And it has a decent enough ending where I'm still here, so it all worked out. But
Okay.
to Dr. Greenweiss, now I'm new in Marietta, but I'm a former school administrator, and that's a very tough situation to fit into when you return as a classroom teacher. I've been out for several years with my daughter after she was born at home taking care of her. So we made a decision that I'd come back and teach and be on her track so that she graduates, I retire. I think that's kind of how it's all supposed to work out. We'll see if it gets there. So very early in my tenure over at the PLC, I teach at the PLC, I teach math. Um, we had a situation that I was able to share with Dr. Roberts and Brenda in a restorative practices class where I stood up for some students who I thought were being treated kind of badly. We won't walk back through all of that, but I stand by what I did, and I think I did it as well as I could have done it. But I knew that day, and I didn't share all of this in the restorative practices class, that I had a target put on my head on that day, and I could see it in the eyes. Now, that's part of where being an administrator kind of hurts me because I know what I'm looking at. I don't know you, but I know that look. I've seen that look before. So we returned from the Christmas holidays, probably about a month in. I did something. I still don't know what I did, but I did something, and it got me reported, and it made it all the way to Mr. Ball, and there were corrective actions put in place, but at no point was I ever told what I did. So I backed up and said, all right, spidey senses are tingling. You know what you did, right? But now you don't know what that did.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I read the Bible a lot. Uh, I have learned that, oh, I was mad. I was mad as a hornet. But wisdom says you hide that insult because only a fool makes that annoyance known. And you don't make that annoyance known because it can be taken in any number of ways, and they can run tell that based on how you respond. And looks like there's another guy here, but I will say, I know as a man, especially as a man of a darker hue, I have to walk with that and be careful how I call stuff out. And I am a caller outer if there ever was one, but I know to be very circumspect about how I handle disrespect. So, and moving forward with this one, only thing I could do is keep doing me and hope that at some point everybody sees who I am. We were on a call the other day and somebody said that they could read all that stuff on the wall back there. And they took it to mean that I've got 7 or 8 degrees. And I'm like, no, most of those are my wife's, but I keep them all in here. I got my fair share, but all that is what it looks like. It's paper hanging on the wall. When I came to Marietta, I was far from hero, probably closer to zero, because nobody's reading resumes and cover letters. They're saying, we need a math teacher. Looks like you're a math teacher. Looks like you have a counseling background. We need you over here at the PLC. So it all worked out because this Elliott observation tool that we're moving to now, I have learned in my experience that maybe that's like the only effective way to teach. So where I'm new at PLC, I'm probably a little farther down the road in being able to relate to the students that I'm teaching, especially since I'm teaching them something that everybody either hates or avoids or both. It's math. So when the Elliott folks came, I looked good. I looked very good. And I could tell that I looked good because I've been on the other side of the evaluation. I know what they're looking for because I know what I look for. And that made it all the way up the chain of command. And you would think that that worked everything out. But what that did now is the day after the Elliott observation, where you want to exhale because that was a lot, I got evaluated again the next day. at the end of the period, but it was Miss Ross. And if there's anybody I've kind of gravitated to on staff, I didn't know that she was an engineer. I'm an engineer, Dr. Green. When I observed her in my interview, I knew she was of an analytical persuasion. I could just see how she operates. So when it was her who came to do the surprise evaluation, I said, okay, I'm tired. I'm ready to pass out, but I think I'm going to make it. So at the end of that evaluation, I actually asked her, hey, how did I do? And how am I doing overall? And I got good feedback from her. So I said, okay, the rest of this will kind of work itself out. And I think I got my contract for next year, maybe right before we got the email saying we're about to go home. We don't know when we're coming back. So I took that to say, okay, I'll be all right. And then a couple of weeks after, I got some mea culpas in more detail about what was actually going on. And it confirmed that what I did was I stood up not for those students, but there was a student in particular that I will say is probably either public enemy number one or persona non grata at our school. And standing up for that person is what got me into trouble. But now I've been around for a minute, and I know that there's some trouble I'm always willing to get into, and that's good trouble. I'll get into that trouble any day. But it told me two things. It told me where I am. It's like, okay, this is not Shangri-La. It's cool, but it's not Shangri-La. But I can handle myself, and I know how to handle myself, so it'll be all right.
So you allowed your craft, if you will, which is teaching, to speak for you when it came to your integrity in your job. And that was shown through two instruments. If you're going to apply the instrument the way they should be applied for your teaching, the one would be the Elliot, which doesn't speak to TEKS, but it does inform you and inform those who are observing you of the teaching skills that you have in the classroom by way of how the students are receiving it, correct? And then the next day, a reliable and validated instrument that is attached to your contract was also applied by another individual, separate from the Elliott group. And you're sharing with me that, yeah, so you allowed what you do. So you did action, you let your action speak for your integrity.
Yeah, and this turned out to be
that was easy though, Mr. Brown. Then that was easy for you.
Well,
that was easy. That was an easy defense. Come on, if you're a great teacher, that's what's going to happen.
Well, you don't know my temperature and where I've been the last 6 years.
No. So, but let me finish that up though. So that was the easy part. The difficult one was what Galicia and I were talking about, is the emotions.
Oh yeah, because I was hot.
I was hot. Right. And but you also, your integrity helped you to put that aside for the moment and do what you do best. Right? Like, now you have my undivided attention and you're here to evaluate me as a teacher. Let me show you what great teaching is. I'm still hot about what took place. But on this is what I'll do. Got you.
And see, I'm administrator hot sauce. I can take all the air out of this room with a few words. I know how to do it. Yeah. But I'm glad I don't have to now. That's part of life going by.
No, because the people who are in front of you, the little people, those are the ones who are most important. Always. You and I can go behind closed doors and do what we have to do. But when I'm in front of them, it's all about them. Yeah, don't come to my door and knock on my door when I'm teaching. No, don't do that, Brandon. Saw that several times, right? Don't do that. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you for sharing. Brenda, when was the time that you had to defend your